Alright, here's my latest modification. This is sort of a homemade, but not really, because it's based around a manufactured part, the Big Blast tank. This is actually from one of the Lego harpoon blasters, so it's not actually a Big Blast, but it's the same design with the lever trigger. I did make this entire shell. All of this sanded looking stuff is polycarbonate that I made. I didn't make the polycarbonate, I cut it to fit this. But the point of this design is to let it sit underneath a plus slug. Originally designed the plus bow with little holes up in this area to attach undergun systems, any type of integrations or whatever that are detachable, which is really convenient if you want to change from a shotgun, which I consider this to be, to some other rapid fire blaster, I'm not sure. This plus bow is not actually set up right now to take my integration. I did make little panels that fit because of the intervals. These guys just need to be attached to the plus bow and it works. I did have these on my plus bow I made myself. I have that in a few videos. If you don't know what I'm talking about, click that. But I had these attached to that, but then someone made a really nice offer on it, so I actually just sold it a few days ago, or a week ago. So I took these off because they did not match, and if he doesn't have this, these are kind of pointless. But it takes quite a long time to actually put these back on, and you have to mess with your air seal up here, so I didn't want to just for the sake of this video. Unfortunately, after testing with it, I believe it is slightly too bulky for my needs, and I'm quite happy with an RSCB. Just to go over this RSCB real quick, I know it's odd looking because it's, well, odd, but it's a typical RSCB with an L and a T here, a very small clip. It only holds 3 1.5-inch Stephens, and then this upper part is sort of a clip, but this is going to be fired instead of the reservoir. These guys are the same size, so I can actually have 2 shots. It's not 2 darts, it's 3 darts at a time, or possibly 4. I actually haven't used this in a while. But the concept is to have my reservoir darts here as well, and then this is the barrel. This is 1/2-inch PVC, this is 1/2-inch polyester that is the same dimensions as CPVC, so it fits in there pretty well. It's essentially CPVC for the sake of sizes for Nerf. But the 3 darts will sit here, and then as I pull the trigger, they will all be launched at once. So it's a shotgun RSCB. And I don't know if I've actually seen this. I think I heard someone talking about it like a year ago. It's not my design or anything. I just think it's a great idea for the high-powered airgun like this. Little rest up front. It's not that bulky. It is quite long, but when I'm using a plus bow, I'm going to have a very long barrel on this RSCB too. So it's not actually adding much length, it's just adding quite a bit of bulk. This is the first thing I've actually designed and built for Nerf guns, and I was actually really happy that it all came out nicely. It's very clean, and I think it's pretty high quality work relative to my stuff, because I'm not perfect with my tools by any means. There is a cut slot for the pump, so an adhesive was not actually used for actually any of the installation, with the exception of gluing the coupler to my tank. But if I chose to, I could very easily pull this tank out of this system, so I'm not damaging the tank, sacrificing the tank, or anything like that, which was one of my target goals. So my pump is sitting, and then my pump tube, I mean my pump shaft, and I do want to replace that because it's really bulky and it's just kind of stupid looking, my handle. I want to replace that in the future. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. But then underneath, I'm going to pop up a big clear picture here because this was clear polycarbonate, and then I sanded it all down. So if you can hopefully see how my trigger works, it's pretty cool. It's the lever trigger on the Big Blast, so if you can see this little screw here, that actually supports the top bit, and then when I pull my trigger, there's a nice little L piece at the bottom that is pulling on the bottom of my trigger. And then I have a spring up top to allow the trigger to come back so it's not annoying. For the modification to the actual Big Blast, I didn't actually go over that. I did completely glue the check valve and the overpressure valve. There actually isn't a rear overpressure valve. I know Broken SVT had a modification. That was extremely bulky though. Not really for the application to a Big Blast, but I was trying to cut down the size quite a bit. So if you can see the black bit here, I just completely cut it off, filled it with hot glue and goop, and now that seals all the air.
It's 11 o'clock.
Thank you. My computer talks. It typically is illegal because you're blocking all of the overpressure valve, and he actually cheats and expands the tank like a little whore. No offense, Greg. But I am now using the overpressure valve in my Supermax 1500 pump, which I'm not sure how they compare to each other, but with a single barrel I'm hitting about the same ranges as I was with all my old Big Blasts, so I don't feel I'm cheating in any way, especially since I'm always going to be using a 3-round shotgun. I don't think it's unfair or unsafe in any way. I wouldn't use something that I wouldn't want shot at me. And then up top are also polycarbonate mounting brackets. That is the part that actually goes into the Big Blast. I already talked about these little plates. The concept is to have these, and then these intervals are the same. I think they're 1 inch. I made this like a month ago. But then a long 2-inch screw goes through the side, just how these are attached up here. And that holds it in, so if you want to take it out, you simply pull off the screws. I also use the nuts to hold them in, and then it's attached. This rear cut here is actually cut at the same angle as the trigger guard here, so it matches and it looks pretty nice. And depending on what spacer you use, I set my spacers up to make it almost touching, so it looks quite clean. If you think the firing of this blaster would be awkward, you're not exactly correct. Someone already talked to me about my front gun trigger, and they insulted it or whatever. And if you don't actually have the gun in your hands on my modification, you can't really talk. Pumping is quite easy, giggity. I can't do it right now because it's not attached, but it's very simple. It's like pumping any integration, like in a crossbow or whatever. And then pulling the trigger, I have very long fingers because I have a long body, and I can actually simply pull it with my middle finger. I can't actually reach with my index. Or you pull your left finger around. Like in the military, the M203 grenade launcher is an undergun mounted thing, and the trigger is very similar in the location. This isn't anything like that, of course. So I think I covered everything. I did use homemade templates. I made them on graph paper. I designed the whole thing around the plus bow and to try to be low profile. But I cannot make my templates public right now. My scanner is broken. I can copy things on my scanner, which I did to get them onto the adhesive-backed template maker paper to actually make this. But the scanning function to save to an SD card or transfer to my computer is broken, so I can't make them public, unfortunately. But if you want to make one, you can kind of just copy this and make it to whatever specifications you want. And now I'll show you it firing. I cannot fire steppins inside, so these are streamlines. It's going to fire off 2 of the streamlines. I have 3 loaded. And again, the overpressure valve in the 1500 is unplugged, so that is what's about to kick in. And there it is. And trigger pull is just like any other gun. You just pull it, and in turn it'll pull the lever back. So here's a shot. As you can see, it failed. I've never actually fired it with streamlines. Streamlines are not heavy enough, and it's designed around steppins. They don't work perfectly in RFCBs. I'll try to fire off this single dart. Now this is just a bunch of dead space. Wow, that shot really fast. It actually bounced off this wall here next to this picture frame. Streamlines just suck overall. They're just awful. And it fishtailed and just messed up. But hopefully I can get this in my outdoor range test because it does fire much better with steppins, as do wall blasters. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching.